I would definitely think that Brian Burns makes a ton of sense. I think that he would be a great edge rusher for Philadelphia, and he's a future guy too. I keep mentioning, right, you only get somebody if it's going to help you win a Super Bowl. Burns does that, but he also helps you win for the next couple of years. The problem that Philadelphia is going to have right now is deciding if it's a necessity to get any of these guys, right? Whether it's Elijah Moore or Brian Burns. Do you need to give up draft stock to improve a roster that's already really stacked? What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Thomas Mott Show on a Saturday. The NFL trade deadline is Tuesday, and there are going to be a lot of moves this year. Only 4 big ones last year. I'm expecting a lot more this year. We're going to go through almost every player who's been rumored to be traded, would it make sense for Philadelphia, and what they could go ahead and give up to grab that player. So we're going to go ahead and simply jump right into this. I think we need just to attack this head on a Saturday edition of the Thomas Mott Show. Let's start with the Sporting News article to kind of set the kind of base layer right now for the trade deadline. A great instance of when it is, times, targets, and more for 2022 by Jacob Kemenker, I think is how you say his name. Does a really good job here. So, for what you need to know, Tuesday, November 1st, that is just a couple of days away depending on when you're watching this video, 4 p.m. Eastern time. You're going to see a lot of, NFL Network, ESPN, they're going to be live up until 4 p.m. expecting moves to happen at the trade deadline. You go back to 2021, there weren't a lot of moves that actually happened overall. You see here, the biggest one was the Chiefs acquiring Melvin Ingram from the Steelers. There were more trades in the weeks leading up to the deadline, including Von Miller, Zach Ertz, and Stephon Gibbs, all sent to new teams in what was an active trade season. So there wasn't a big move at the deadline last year. A lot of stuff happened kind of prior to the deadline. Not a lot has happened yet, besides Christian McCaffrey, which signals that there's probably more moves coming, whether it's, later today, who knows, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, up until the 4 p.m. deadline. Now, teams really cannot trade after the deadline, so if you're a guy like Elijah Moore who wants out of the New York Jets, if you don't get moved by Tuesday, you're not getting moved until at least the end of the season. And so there are a couple possible targets that we need to go ahead and look at here. And I think just going through all of them makes a ton of sense. Do they make sense for the Eagles? Do they not? Let's just go ahead and jump right into this NFLcom article here. Notable players who should be on the move before the league's NFL trade deadline. So let's just scroll down. Let's just go one by one here. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey already moved. Check that one. This article is a little bit older. Terrace Marshall is going to be interesting. You think about this idea of a Panther player or the Panthers themselves having an overall purge just because they are trying to get the number 1 overall draft pick. They're going to get a new head coach. It's going to be a total, rebuild in Carolina. In terms of Philadelphia, Marshall to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I liked him coming out of college. He's done nothing since, right? He was a really good target at Joe Burrow's LSU and just hasn't really done anything that makes you want to, write home about. And so we talked about, receivers in Philadelphia before. Elijah Moore was something we talked about yesterday on the show. I like the idea, but does it actually make sense for Philadelphia to get a guy like Terrace Marshall? No, it really doesn't. I'm out on him. Now, Robert Quinn has been mentioned a ton in terms of Philadelphia Eagles Twitter. You've seen it on the national sites as well. Robert Quinn is obviously a Bears defensive end who is absolutely incredible. He's coming off an 18.5 sack season. That's insane. By any standard, right? And the Bears were trash last year. He's been very good this year. Hasn't necessarily been as, sack present. He's not going to be an 18.5 sack guy this year, but he does make sense if you're going all in. And that's what you got to look at the NFL trade deadline. You're only getting these players in Philadelphia if you're going all in. You're not getting somebody who you want to develop the next couple of years. No, Philadelphia this year, they're going all in. So if they're going to make a big move, Quinn does make some sense. Now, the problem with Robert Quinn is he's like 33 years old next May, so he's 32. And he still has a lot of money due to him this season. So if you want to trade for Robert Quinn, you have to be okay with the age and be okay with the massive cap hit that's going to be ensuing, meaning you got to make some more, internal cap moves to make him fit on the Eagles roster. I don't know if the Eagles need Robert Quinn. I'd rather have a Brian Burns than a Robert Quinn just because Burns is much younger, but you could have Quinn for a lot cheaper, right? You get Robert Quinn for a 3rd or 4th round draft pick and feel really, really good about it. So keep an eye on Quinn. That name's been thrown around there a bunch. I think he does make some sense for Philadelphia. Now, Roquan Smith, he's not been really tied to Philadelphia that much this season. Any other year he would have been because he's one of the better young linebackers in the National Football League, wanted to trade at the beginning of the year, but the Eagles have done so well with TJ Edwards and Kazir White that they just have no real need for Roquan Smith. Genuinely, think about this. You hear the name Roquan Smith, you say, Thomas, he'd be really good in Philadelphia. Yeah, but he's going to cost you a lot. Right? Not only in draft compensation, but the future contract as well, or the one that he's currently on right now. Philadelphia can get TJ Edwards on a 2 or 3 year deal for pennies on the dollar because the National Football League doesn't recognize TJ Edwards yet as an elite linebacker. I'm not saying he is, but he's very, very good. And they signed Kazir White and have Nakobe Dean. And so Smith is a fun, flashy name because of what he did at Georgia and what he's done over his career at the Bears in Chicago. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for Philadelphia. Not a big need, right? I don't see this as really upgrading them that much more than where they're currently at. Again, that's not a slight to Roquan Smith. That's just a really, really high praise being given to TJ Edwards because he's been so fantastic. Mason Rudolph, Eagles are not going to trade for Mason Rudolph. Move on from that one. Cleveland Farrell's name gets thrown around a lot. I have no interest in Cleveland Farrell. I get he was the 4th overall draft pick in 2019. He's done nothing since. I mean, literally, absolutely nothing since. 8 sacks in his career since 2019. This was clearly an overdraft. This happens all the time in the National Football League. Obviously, Mike Mayock and John Gruden did not have a very good job or did not know what they were doing in terms of drafting Farrell. You could get him for pennies on the dollar if you want a project, sure, but he's not going to be any sort of impactful player on a Super Bowl team making a Super Bowl run like the Philadelphia Eagles. And so you're going to see his name. I bet they ship him off, but I don't think it's going to be to Philadelphia. Dearness Johnson's name gets thrown up a lot alongside Kareem Hunt, just because Nick Chubb is the dominant running back in Cleveland, and Cleveland is not necessarily a playoff team yet, depending on what Deshaun Jackson does, or Deshaun Watson. Geez, get these things right. Johnson's a really good running back. He's been very, very effective filling in at times for Hunt or filling in at times for Nick Chubb, and I get that Philadelphia might want to go ahead and get a running back, and so I'm not going to rule him out. I just don't know if he's the right one, right? If I'm going for a running back this offseason, I'm not getting somebody who might be here for the long term because you can draft somebody in the draft and pay him way less. I want somebody who's just a one and done, Jay Ajayi type situation. Maybe Johnson is, maybe he's not, but I'm not sure he's exactly a great fit on Philadelphia overall. I've mentioned Denzel Mims before, mainly because I went to Baylor. Honestly, I mean, I was a sucker for Mims whenever he was at Baylor and shocked he hasn't done well. It's either the fact that the Jets can't develop receivers, hence why Elijah Moore not on this list, but obviously he was talked about yesterday on the show. It's why Moore and Mims both want out. I don't know if it's just because they don't have a very good offensive, game plan for these young receivers. I don't know if it's Zach Wilson. I don't know why. I don't know why the Jets have all these good young wide receivers, yet they don't want to be there. Mims would make some sense for the right price, but again, I see Philadelphia as an all-in football team, and all-in doesn't do anything. I mean, Denzel Mims doesn't do anything for you to go all-in. It's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to play over Zach Pascal and Quez Watkins? No. Now, Elijah Moore, I said Mitchell. Elijah Moore might. Elijah Moore could actually play right now and make a lot more sense. And again, he's not pictured right now on this NFL Network article, but he does make a ton of sense. And so I would be very interested in going ahead and grabbing him. All right, we'll get to City Jones here in just once again. First, shout out to PointsBet, the affiliate link you see down in my description box for you guys to go ahead and get 2 free bets up to $2,000. Yes, I have a PointsBet affiliate link. I'm still pinching myself that we have one of these on the Thomas Mott Show. A lot of other shows are not able to have this. It's just crazy that we're able to. And so if you guys want to jump into the betting game, if you're in a legal state, go to my link down below in my description box. You can't miss it. Sign up through that link. Put your deposit down. Place a couple of bets and have some fun. Maybe you want to bet on the Phillies right now. Maybe you're feeling really good about Philadelphia's game next week. You want to bet on some games this weekend. This is the place to do it. Jump in on some bets with PointsBet. You will not be disappointed. It's a great promo right now, and it really helps the show out by going down below and using the link. And so jump in on the PointsBet game. Okay, back to our list here in terms of players that could be traded. Sidney Jones' name keeps coming up here. I don't think he's going to be moved, and I get the idea that they have other young promising corners, including Kobe Bryant. You recognize his name up there in Seattle. He was the Cincinnati defensive back alongside Sauce Gardner. I don't think Jones is going to be moved. I don't think Philadelphia wants Sidney Jones back. He's played a lot better since leaving, and that's the second cornerback to do so. Who was the other one? It was Eric Rowe, I think, was one of the corners who played very, very well, and then the Packer guy. I'm blanking on his name right now, but there have been other corners who get drafted by Philadelphia, go elsewhere, but you don't need Sidney Jones because you have James Bradbury and Darius Slay. Aguilar and Bourne, no thanks. I have no interest in Nelson Aguilar or Kendrick Bourne. I get the idea that the Patriots need other better wide receivers, but no, absolutely not. I am not interested in that. Isaiah Wynn's name's been thrown around a little bit there because he's 27 and he's going to hit free agency in the spring, but he's really only an option if you were to have an injury, and Philadelphia, by the time the trade deadline is happening, is not going to have an injury. They're going to be way healthier than they have been, with Mailata getting back with the shoulder after playing last week against the Cowboys, Lane Johnson concussion protocol. They just don't need Isaiah Wynn, but he's probably going to get moved. You don't need a tight end in terms of Gesicki or the one from Denver, and that basically ends the list. There aren't a lot of overall players, I think, that we need to go ahead and add to this list. The big ones are Robert Quinn. You didn't see Brian Burns' name on this list. I think Burns is probably the most likely. I mean, honestly, if I was going to go ahead and close my eyes and throw a dart at a dartboard and guess, best guess who's going to be traded to the Philadelphia Eagles if there was a trade, I would definitely think that Brian Burns makes a ton of sense. I think that he would be a great edge rusher for Philadelphia, and he's a future guy, too. I keep mentioning, right, you only get somebody if it's going to help you win a Super Bowl. Burns does that, but he also helps you win for the next couple of years. The problem that Philadelphia is going to have right now is deciding if it's a necessity to get any of these guys, right? Whether it's Elijah Moore or Brian Burns. Do you need to give up draft stock to improve a roster that's already really stacked? They're already one of the best sacking teams in the National Football League. They're already one of the best receiving corps in the National Football League. They already have the best, one of the best linebacking corps, young linebacking corps in the National Football League. They have the best cornerback tandem. Maybe safety gets thrown around there a little bit. I don't see that being a need for Philadelphia. I think that Epps has played very, very well. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson might be the steal of the offseason. There's just... I just don't see there being a lot of big-time names that Philadelphia has to go ahead and get. If they do, I'll talk about it. I'll be excited about it. I think Howie Roseman knows better than I do because he's a GM and I'm just hosting a show here. But overall, if there is a move, it's Jacobs, it's Burns, or it's Moore, and that basically would round out my options of players who could be moved here at the NFL trade deadline. All right, we're going to get to some of the NFL stories of the day, including looking ahead to Sunday's games. Obviously, there are no games happening for Philadelphia, but I'll show you what matters and what doesn't for the Eagles here in just 1 second. First, Dak Prescott will play versus the Lions on Sunday. He has not played since injuring that thumb in Week 1. Quote, I did everything. I wasn't limited by any means. There wasn't a pitch count. I think I threw about 140 balls, something like that. I just made that up, but there was no pitch count. I was full go. And so Prescott is ready to rock after, of course, he watched Cooper Rush lead the Cowboys to a 4-1 record. They need Dak Prescott back. They're 4-2 right now. They look up at the Giants and then 2.5 up at us in Philadelphia. And so there is this situation where Dak can get them back on track, but I'm very curious to see if there's any drama if Dak were to struggle, right? If Dak were to struggle at all, could there be some drama in terms of Cooper Rush? He played so well. And I don't think so. I think they're idiots. I think Dak should be the starter for the Dallas Cowboys. But keep an eye on this one tomorrow, especially with the Detroit Lions and beyond, as Dak comes back with that thumb from that thumb injury. Okay, let's quickly go through our NFL scoreboard here, looking ahead to the games tomorrow. What matters, what doesn't for the Philadelphia Eagles. Falcons-Bengals is going to be interesting just simply from the fact that the Falcons are playing good football right now. They're winning football games. They haven't done that a lot the past couple of years. If they beat the Bengals, then you might start talking playoffs for the Atlanta Falcons. If they can't, though, 3-4, it's a little bit trickier. Obviously, you're rooting hard for the Detroit Lions on Sunday. If the Cowboys were to lose, this is one, you want to go points bet? I'm going to give you my points bet of the week right now if you guys want to jump in on this one. Detroit. Dallas -7. They're a touchdown favorite against the pesky Detroit Lions who score a lot offensively. I think Detroit can at least cover in this one. Give me the Lions +7 in this one. If you want to do it with PointsBet, use my link down below right now. This would be huge. If Dallas loses, it'd be a lot of fun. Colts-Titans, not a big one in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles, but is a big one, obviously, in the AFC South. That's going to really determine, I think, who's going to be the leader there. I'm giving the edge to Tennessee because they're at home. This is going to be fascinating. Now, the Commanders should lose this game because they don't have Carson Wentz and they have Taylor Heineke, but the Packers have been on an absolute disaster of a season so far this year, at least offensively. Maybe Washington at home causes some problems. I think the Packers win this one, though, but, I almost root for the Commanders here just to be based on the fact that I don't think they're a threat to Philadelphia, and the Packers down the road might be. Bucks and Panthers is going to be an absolute wash there. You see Tampa Bay 13-point favorites. The Panthers are a dumpster fire right now and are very much tanking for the #1 overall pick. Giants-Jaguars, maybe. Okay, this is crazy. Jacksonville -3. Jacksonville the 3-point favorite. Another points bet if you guys want to jump in on that one. Link down below. I don't know. I don't like the bet to get 4 teams in the NFC East, but how are the Giants not favored in that one? I have absolutely no idea. Browns-Ravens, not a big one there. Jets-Broncos, again, not a big one there in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles. Same with Texans-Raiders. This is like a toss-up. It doesn't matter who wins this one. You just want to help out Philadelphia in that Saints draft pick. You want to root for the Chargers beating the Seahawks to further push the Seahawks back as they are a little pesky but nothing special. Chiefs-Niners, how much is Christian McCaffrey going to play tomorrow? I don't think he's going to be able to play a lot. He's going to be featured, but he's getting there yesterday, right? And then has to learn a playbook. There's just no way he's a big-time factor. Maybe at the goal line, maybe a couple screens, but not a big deal. And then possibly the worst slate of primetime games this weekend. Steelers-Dolphins, I guess Tua plays, but not a lot of praise there, not a lot of fun there. And then Bears and Patriots, what a nightmare for the Monday night guys. That's going to be low-scoring and ugly, although maybe Bailey Zappi continues to play well in the absence of Mac Jones. There you go. There are the games happening this weekend here on the Thomas Mott Show. We're going to come back with a show tomorrow morning, I think, just to make sure you guys have some Eagles stuff going on, just because, other NFL things, but Eagles things going on. And then next week, game week, right? You're back to getting ready for Philadelphia the Eagles to play next Sunday. Trade deadline is Tuesday. You guys want to hit that subscribe button here because the Thomas Mott Show is going to be going crazy this week, and so stay tuned for that. For the Thomas Mott Show, I'm Thomas Mott. See you guys.